1992, European football changed forever. The old knockout-style European Cup was transformed into a new format, and starting with the 1992-93 season, it was rebranded as the Champions League. But this wasn't just a rebrand, it was an economic revolution, one that turned football into a global business worth billions of euros, elevated a handful of superclubs to dominance, and set the financial foundation of the modern game we watch today. So why did it happen? What economic forces pushed UEFA and Europe's richest clubs to transform the sport? And what lessons can we learn from the birth of the Champions League? The European Champion Clubs Cup, also known as simply the European Cup, was launched in 1955. It was the most prestigious organization in European football, but its structure was brutally simple. A knockout format based on 2 home and away games, a single loss or even a draw with away goals conceded could knock out giants like AC Milan early. The format was exciting for fans of underdogs, but it was risky for broadcasters and sponsors. Imagine paying millions for TV rights only to see a top club eliminated in September. For example, in the 1987-88 tournament, Napoli featuring Diego Maradona were knocked out in the first round. TV networks missed out on big games, and fans saw their favorite stars disappear after only 2 matches. Because it was a straight knockout format, clubs only had a handful of guaranteed games, and broadcasters risked losing big names early. In 1991, the entire European Cup featured just 59 matches. Compare that to the modern Champions League, where a total of 189 matches will be played in the 2025-26 season. Those extra 130 games make a huge difference. By the late 1980s, television was reshaping sports everywhere. The 1990 World Cup in Italy reached an estimated global audience of 1 billion people, a scale unthinkable a couple decades earlier. Advertisers realized that football wasn't just a sport, it was the world's most powerful entertainment product, and broadcasters wanted predictability, more guaranteed games featuring big clubs, primetime slots, and storylines that lasted months. Wealthy clubs wanted what American sports leagues already had: reliable broadcasting money and sponsorship income that could stabilize budgets and pay for expensive players. With the introduction of private networks, pay TV channels, and pay-per-view models in the early 90s, the potential of television started to make a difference. In 1989, all English First Division clubs collectively earned about $18 million per year from television rights. By contrast, the organizing body for Serie A entered a deal with Italian broadcasters for TV rights at about $90 million per year in 1993. Clubs like AC Milan and Real Madrid began to realize that the European Cup's knockout format was holding back their true earning potential. One of the strongest voices came from AC Milan's owner Silvio Berlusconi. As a media tycoon, who later became Italy's prime minister, he saw football not just as a sport, but as a product to be packaged and sold. Frustrated by a format that could easily eliminate Europe's biggest and most commercially viable clubs so early in the tournament, he hired an advertising firm to draft detailed plans for a breakaway league built around merit, tradition, and television. The proposal was to create a European television league, which involved an 18-team league with top clubs from major countries. UEFA rejected that proposal, but the idea was out in the open, and clubs had discovered just how much leverage they had. Eventually, in 1991, UEFA voted to modify the format of the European Cup and introduce the group stage. Instead of going straight into the knockouts for the quarterfinals, the remaining 8 clubs would be split into 2 groups of 4, guaranteeing at least 12 matches per group before the group winners advanced to the final. UEFA also decided to centralize TV rights of the new format. Starting with the 1992-93 season, they branded it as the UEFA Champions League. After the branding and centralized commercial deals, the competition's revenues exploded, and its first season, the Champions League sold TV rights and sponsorship contracts for about 46 million euros. That number has gone up to about 822 million euros in 2008-2009 and to about 3.2 billion euros in the 2023-2024 season. That's a 14% annualized growth rate. In just 3 decades, the Champions League became the single biggest driver of UEFA's finances, accounting for about 68% of its annual revenue. Clubs quickly discovered that simply qualifying for the group stage had big financial benefits. By the late 1990s, group stage qualification guaranteed around 10 million euros in income. Today, that figure is higher than 20 million euros, before factoring in matchday revenue and sponsorships. Clubs reaching the knockout rounds can earn up to 50 to over 100 million euros in a single season. This stable cash flow widened the gap between Europe's elite and everyone else. From 1992 to 2025, just 7 clubs accounted for 55% of the Champions League semi-final appearances. During this period, 15 different teams won the Champions League, whereas there were only 19 different winners of the European Cup over the same number of years prior to 1992, when the tournament was based on the simple knockout format. Real Madrid alone won half of the last 10 seasons, whereas smaller clubs that once dreamed of a fairy tale European Cup run have been almost completely locked out. With the new format, revenue soared and diversity suffered. The reformatting of the competition since 1992 has also coincided with a sharp reduction in the range of nations represented at the highest levels. Before the format change, there was an average of about 11 countries represented at the semi-final level, which started to decline after 1993 to only about 5 most recently, despite the increase in the number of UEFA member nations following the breakup of countries like the Soviet Union, Yugoslavia, and Czechoslovakia. Deloitte's Football Money League shows that inequality goes even deeper. Today, the top 10 clubs generate almost half their income from commercial activities, which include global sponsors, retail, and brand deals, while those ranked 11 to 20 remain dependent on broadcasting, which makes up nearly half their revenues. Back in the 2009-2010 season, these two groups have looked nearly identical in how they made money. But over time, the business models have diverged. Elite clubs were able to leverage their global profile, while the rest still rely on on-pitch success to unlock TV money. Centralized sponsorship deals reinforced the trend. By the late 1990s, global brands like MasterCard, Pepsi, and Sony were paying tens of millions to be official partners. The Champions League quickly became more than a tournament. It was a showcase watched by hundreds of millions worldwide, making it one of the most valuable platforms in sports for advertisers. Even the anthem itself became a marketing tool, instantly recognizable and tied to premium brands, turning match nights into must-see global events for both fans and sponsors. The centralized sponsorship pool meant that even mid-tier clubs could get a slice, but the distribution system rewarded frequent participants the most. Although the Champions League provided a big boost to them, Europe's biggest clubs have repeatedly threatened to break away since Berlusconi's original blueprint. In 1996, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Ajax, and Barcelona were among the leaders in talks for a new elite league, pushing UEFA to expand the Champions League again to 24 teams in 1997 and to 32 teams in 1999. Despite the changes, pressures from top teams continued over years, and most dramatically, in 2021, 12 clubs, including Manchester United, Juventus, and Barcelona, announced a European Super League, promising permanent membership for its founders. The backlash was immediate. Fans protested in the streets, governments threatened intervention, and eventually the plan collapsed. Still, the message was clear. The biggest clubs see themselves less as participants in a competition and more as global brands that expect higher income. The format didn't stay static. Starting with the 2024-2025 season, UEFA again updated the structure. The traditional group stage was discontinued in favor of a 36-team league table. Each club now plays 8 matches against 8 different opponents, 4 at home and 4 away. The top 8 teams qualified directly for the round of 16, while clubs ranked 9th to 24th must play a knockout playoff to progress. Those finishing 25th to 36th are eliminated outright, with no safety net of dropping into the Europa League. Once the playoffs are complete, the remaining 16 teams then play a standard 2-leg knockout tournament to determine the champion. The new Swiss-style system massively increases the number of high-profile fixtures from the first match day and enables more matches between equally ranked teams. Instead of 96 group stage matches under the old system, the new format features 144 league phase matches. The revenue potential is obvious: more matches, more broadcast hours, and more advertising inventory. For the 2024-2027 cycle, approximately 2.5 billion euros per year will be shared among the 36 participating clubs. That's about 76% of what UEFA makes from the Champions League. UEFA distributes this money to the clubs using 3 main categories, or pillars. The first pillar is for participation and represents 27.5% of the overall pool, or 670 million euros. Every one of the 36 clubs that makes it to the main competition gets a guaranteed equal amount for just participating, which amounts to 18.6 million euros per team. The second pillar is for performance, where clubs earn money based on their results and progression. This is the biggest slice of the pie, representing 37.5% of the total, or 950 million euros. UEFA pays 2.1 million euros for each win and 700,000 euros for each draw. Clubs also get bonuses for where they finish in the overall league table after 8 games. The highest ranking team receives 9.9 million euros, while the lowest receives 275,000 euros. Teams finishing in the top 8 receive an additional 2 million euros, while those ranked 9 to 16 get 1 million euros. Clubs also receive increasing fixed payments for progressing through the knockout stages, 1 million euros for getting to the knockout round playoffs, escalating all the way to 18.5 million euros for reaching the final, plus an extra 6.5 million euros for the Champions League winner. The third and final one is the value pillar, representing 35% of the total revenue, or 850 million euros. Each team's payout depends on two factors: its coefficient ranking in the European competitions over the past decade and the relative size of its home country's media market. Clubs are ranked accordingly, with the highest ranked team earning 36 shares of the respective pot and the lowest earning just 1 share. The club that ranks top in the different rankings can earn up to 46 million euros, while the lowest ranking team is guaranteed to earn about 1.3 million euros from this pillar. In essence, this system heavily favors clubs with strong recent records and from countries with larger broadcasting deals. In 2025, the winner of the league, PSG, was estimated to earn about 145 million euros from all of these three pillars. In addition to the champions, 6 more teams were estimated to earn more than 100 million euros each, representing about 34% of the total distribution. The lowest earning team was Slovan Bratislava, still earning an estimated of 23 million euros. According to Deloitte, the top 20 European clubs generated a combined of 11.2 billion euros in revenue in 2024, a 6% increase from the previous year, with Real Madrid, Manchester City, and PSG each surpassing 800 million euros. For these top teams, the UEFA distribution from the Champions League income accounts for about 15 to 20% of their total revenues. The concept for an alternative competition is still alive. A22 Sports, the company behind the initial Super League proposal, relaunched their plans in late 2024 as the Unify League, a new 96-team merit-based format across 4 leagues. The new proposal was submitted to UEFA and FIFA for recognition following a favorable European Court of Justice ruling. This constant tug-of-war between UEFA and its wealthiest clubs show how the economics of the Champions League planted a seed for a Super League that never quite goes away. Every time the format is restructured, like the 2024 expansion of 36 clubs, it's partly to address that pressure and keep giants inside the UEFA system. The Champions League was born not on the pitch, but in a boardroom. It was a product of clubs demanding more revenue, broadcasters demanding more predictability, and UEFA realizing it had to adapt or lose control. Today, the competition commands global audiences of over 400 million per season, generates billions in sponsorship and TV rights, and makes household names of clubs and players alike. What started as an economic pivot to satisfy broadcasters has grown into football's most powerful engine, one that continues to shape the game. The story of 1992 reminds us that behind every great sponsoring spectacle lies an economic origin.